Hey, this is Sasha, the options coach. In today's video, we're going to look at your next option strategy after trading covered calls. So a lot of people get into trading covered calls first. They also get into trading singles, like buying a single call or buying a single put. Those are probably the most popular option strategies to get started with at the beginning. So in today's question that I noticed on one of the Facebook groups and areas is I've been getting income with covered calls and cash secured puts. What is the next level option strategy to learn? I've never been super speculative, but I'm interested in learning. Does anyone ever make money just buying long calls or puts? Thanks. Okay, so to kick things off, I'm going to give you some insight into the way that I teach as far as mentoring goes, because I do one-on-one coaching and mentoring for even financial planners, advisors, and traders. We do like mental risk analysis with them, along with some funds. And I'll show you the way that I teach them and the progression that we go. And maybe this will give you a reason of why and what the next steps or stages are, regardless of where you're at. So let's get started. I'm going to take a look at these things and give you a little idea. So the first thing that I kind of teach people actually is, so level one, I guess you could say, is beyond just the basic strategy wise. So we're talking specifically on strategy in this case. Strategy wise, I do go in with covered calls. Now with covered calls, there's also kind of like a subset with puts, selling cash secured puts. So this is kind of a good starting point. Then this is, I'll call this a 1A or a 1B kind of concept for more advanced people or people with more money. I also teach them covered puts. Now, this is very different than covered calls. You might think, okay, well, how is it different? Well, just to show you a covered put example, buy, and we'll do a covered stock. What you're doing, in fact, in this case, and we'll hide positions. What we're going to do is we're going to go backwards, and we're doing an inverted position where we're shorting the stock. And then we are buying or selling the put in order to buy that stock lower. So think of this as shorting, but it's shorting on the covered call side. Now, I don't teach that to everybody because, well, not everybody is looking to learn these kinds of things or not as advanced. But you could just say, hey, this could be a subset of kind of this covered calls concept. After that, what I normally would teach is kind of verticals. And this would be out of the money verticals because it relates to selling cash secured puts. It's kind of a nice way to do that. So out of the money vertical puts is what I normally teach. And then we go into also on the call side. And then we get into at the money vertical debit spreads. Okay. Vertical debit spreads. So you're buying verticals then in this case. The third stage I would say is getting into iron condors. And in here, there's also a subset, call it 3B, where it's a gamma iron condor. If people are more advanced, which is buying iron condor. So it's a gamma iron. Okay. Then we get into butterflies. And then I get into kind of calendars. And then we get into diagonals, and then we get into kind of call it double diagonals and more creative strategies. Of course, there's little subsets of each one of these, but hopefully that kind of gives you a starting point in this range. So that's the way I do it. Typically when we cover singles and we look at just looking at, buying a single call or put, it's going to be mixed in at this beginning stage, but after the basics of covered calls. Usually I'll tie the singles or buying single contracts somewhere around the vertical stages actually, or even over here. And the reason for that is when people buy single option contracts, there's a lot of theta decay and there's a lot of negativity with that theta decay. And it's actually a little bit more of a advanced option concept because most people can't handle the negative theta or they don't know how to deal with it. What we often do is we kind of combine it with verticals to offset and create a different strategy along those lines. So anyways, this is the progression that I typically teach things in. Usually I will say after about the verticals or iron condor stage, you can kind of go to pretty much any strategy you want. You could then hop to kind of a diagonal or a calendar if you want, or a butterfly next. Either one will work. If you want, after an iron condor, you can even go to a calendar, or after an iron condor, you could go to kind of, I wouldn't hop to like a double diagonal right away, but probably to one of these three, or even like a back ratio spread or something else. So there's a lot of things after that stage. Kind of iron condor gets you a little bit more of a nice base and foundation, and then you can go from there. Buying single calls and puts, like if you look back to the question, if you're just trying to buy single calls and puts, I will say for a lot of people, it's more difficult. And really, when we look at what this strategy entails, is that when you buy a single call, remember what it means. Buying a single call, all it is buying 100 shares of stock, and then you are buying a put, because a call defines your risk. So all of this kind of goes hand in hand with when I teach covered calls, when we're buying put protection for those covered calls. So anyways, that's what I want to share with you as far as the progression goes. That's the way I would approach it. We do a lot of that teaching on our website, group classes, and those kinds of things. So there's plenty of things to learn in the mentoring. This is the approach I take as far as lessons, and I've seen it work very, very well for a lot of people on that progression. Will I mix things up depending on the person? Yes. In some cases, some people learn a little bit better or different in certain ways depending on what they're picking up. But this is usually the curriculum or stages that I deal with when I work with people for 9 months, 12 months at a time, one-on-one sessions over the course of putting on many, many trades. For group classes, the progression's a little different. It's class specific, strategy specific, and people kind of have to pick what strategy they're looking to learn. But if we're putting them in groups, that's the way I would do it. Anyways, check out some of the freebies if you like. They're going to be down below in the descriptions or on the side, depending on if you're watching this on our website or in our Facebook group or wherever. So feel free, check them out. Grab the newsletter if you like. If not, cool. Enjoy your week. And, I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.